morning, everybody. Welcome to Start with Safety. Welcome to the Utah Safety Council, Start with Safety. It's November 7th. We're happy that you are all here. My name is Joy Glad. I am the Director of Programs here. A couple housekeeping items for those of you who are here in class. If we have an emergency, we will go out this door right behind us. If not, we'll go out through the door. This is not an exit. Please follow a Utah Safety Council staff member to get you out to the rendezvous point so we can keep track of you and make sure everything's taken care of. We have restrooms if you need those. We'll help you get to where those are located. Tinkerbell. I need a Tinkerbell. Thank you. So just to let everybody know for November what's going on, November 11th is Monday. It is Veterans Day. The Safety Council offices will be closed that day. November 13th, I'm going to put a little shout out for myself. I will be teaching the Occupational Safety Essentials class. It's good for people who are newer into safety. It's good for supervisors and management. Everybody's welcome. And I'll tell you right now, I'm awesome. So please come join me. November 28th is Thanksgiving. We will have the offices closed that day also, and on November 29th, which is Black Friday. I believe that is all that I have, so I will pass this on to Fabiana.
Hi everyone, my name is Fabiana. I'm the Program Administration here in the Utah Safety Council. Today we're gonna talk about the Women in Safety and what is Women in Safety. It's an organization to empower women in the safety roles through recognition, elevation, and professional development. Every year we do an award, the WISH Award. And this year it's going to be on December the 13th. We're gonna have the honor to have the Olympian athlete Catherine Rainey Norman as our guest speaker. So this is gonna be located in Layton at the Rooster restaurant. Registrations are online and they're open now. So everybody can just go online, our website, on social media. Please check it out, and then we're gonna be posting a lot of information for you guys to register and to be part of the WISH Award ceremony. Up next, we're gonna hear from Stone and Yvette Apple.
Well, that apparently got shifted in some variety, but basically what it says is November defensive driving. And you may ask, what does turkeys and defensive driving have to do with anything together? Well, that's because it's November. And in November, these are wild turkeys, in case you didn't realize. And November is the time where you get the most wildlife here in Utah. So just be aware there's going to be more wildlife on the roads than usual. So if you do live in a rural area or a mountainous area, there is a chance that you could encounter, probably not turkeys, they're not native to Utah, but some other sort of wildlife. So just be aware. Next, we'll talk about our Spanish defensive driving courses, which we do offer here at this building, our Salt Lake facility. And the address will also be on the screen there for people who are joining us online. The next one coming up is going to be November 16th. So not this Saturday, but next Saturday. We offer both it in English and Spanish. We are just shouting out our Spanish instructor, Martin Herrera. It'll actually be up in this room right here, which is on the top floor of the Utah Safety Council building. You do not need to register on the website prior to attending. You can just simply show up, get you paid, get you registered, and then you can just attend the course that way. In addition to our Spanish courses, we do also offer it in 3 different varieties. We offer it online, which is fully self-paced online course. We offer it over Zoom, which is once per month. And then we finally offer it in person, which is located at 5 different facilities. We have one in Layton, Lehigh, Logan, Salt Lake, as well as St. George. So each one has their own unique schedule. The full 2025 schedule should be up by December, so you're more than welcome to peruse that and look through it that way. If you were interested in the online codes, then please reach out to me. They do vary in pricing depending on how many you want to buy. In addition to that, if you buy more than 500, then you are actually entitled to get your own website if you want one with your own logo and everything like that, your own landing page for your drivers instead of going through ours. So just reach out to me and I can explain a little bit further than that. And then finally, the most exciting news in defensive driving and traffic in general is actually, Yvette, if you join me up on stage here. Less principal's office, more. Yvette Stephanie's actually gonna be the future traffic safety manager. We're doing a little bit of a role switch here, so brace yourself for a bunch of different role switches that are gonna come up. Where she'll be taking over my position as I bow out at the end of December, and that's the most exciting news. I'll now turn it over to her and her current program that she's overseeing, as well as her role switch that's coming up.
Thank you, so. Okay, I'm currently still over the emergency care program here at the Utah Safety Council. And just some important dates coming up for the month of November. We are nearing the end of the year, so it's very important that you guys get your trainings in before the new year. And I am the person still that you reach out to. If you cannot register online for some reason, as we all know, our website is the greatest. You guys can give me a call and you guys can also reach me by email. So our next in-house for first aid CPR and AED training is next week, Wednesday on the 13th. These seats are filling up, and yes, it will also be in this classroom. As you can see, it's not that big, so we are capping our seats. But I can try to squeeze you in, so reach out to me as soon as possible. Our instructor course, this will be in December 2nd. We also have instructors that can come to your location if you cannot make it in December. We had a lot of back and forth because of this date. Unfortunately, this is what we can make work, but again, we can come to you and we have a bunch of on-site scheduled for your instructors at your location. Something fun, well, that looks horrible there. Something fun about your membership is when you purchase an AED through us with your membership, you actually have free AED trainings specific to your product. This will help your people get familiar with your product itself. And yes, we will actually go turn it on, walk towards your AED, let them know where it's at. So yeah, just something fun for you guys. And with that, I also have some news as far as who's taking over this program. When I move over, I'm going to introduce our future emergency program manager, and it will be Quentin McCarver, very familiar face for all of you, and I'm going to hand this off to him.
Great. Thanks, Yvette.
Oh,
Our outreach.
apologies.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I guess we're gonna go over our outreach and community. So our person for this is actually downstairs taking a course, Brandon Stone. Something fun that he can do for you guys as the outreach in person. He actually does first aid, CPR, and AED training. He's one of our 2 instructors that could come to your on-site and teach your people to become trainers, actually. He also is a car seat technician, a defensive driving instructor. Yes, he does it all. So just, another resource for you guys. If you guys cannot make it here, Brandon Stone. Okay, now I'm really gonna turn it over to Quentin. Here you go.
Thank you, Yvette. Excited for the new transition. Quickly though, I'll go over the MSHOP program as well as the refinery and computer lab updates. As you can see, we have a few courses coming up for the rest of this year. If you're looking to get into some new minor, again, we don't have anything this month, but we do have, some new minor underground. We do have the next class in December. However, you can see the rest of the classes here on the far left for our MSHOP program. Again, those are capped at 35 participants. Again, that's because of MSHOP's regulations. So if you need to get into those, get into them quick as they do fill up. And typically people do not cancel. So additionally, you can also see our refinery basic orientation plus courses over there on the left or in the middle, excuse me. We do have 2 more of those for the year. And then computer lab, of course, Monday through Thursday and Fridays, of course, as well. Please reach out if you need a Friday though, as some days, Fridays can be a little bit hit or miss if we're going to be here, depending on our schedules. So with that though, again, I am transitioning to that new role as the first aid emergency care program manager, and taking my place, we have Taylor Steed here. Again, another familiar face as he's been over the occupational program. So he will fit right in and be able to help you guys just as well as I can, if not better. So we'll turn the time over to him to give you an update on the occupational program.
Thank you, Quentin. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, everyone here in person as well as online. My name is Taylor, and for now, I'm still the occupational program manager over our OSHA classes, all the other occupational classes not related to mining and refinery. So a couple of things I wanted to take everyone just a minute to look at this. And did you know that your direct costs in case of safety-related accidents, are medical related, wage related, insurance premium related? That's all the direct stuff, but we also have indirect stuff to worry about as well. Lost production, training costs, the list goes on. Luckily, WCF, they have a lot of resources actually to help you guys in your safety programs. They have a safety program and cost control guidebook. Is where I got this information from. There you can see they have got graphics, they've got all sorts of information. They also have the safety program worksheet where in these competencies you can list whether or not you have completed them as a company. So this would be a good metric to gauge where you are in your own personal companies. So just know that you have resources, not just through us, but through WCF. It'll be helpful to lower your insurance premiums too. So that's something to keep in mind. But why should we? Why should we care about all of this? At the end of the day, it is about presenting a positive public image to people. It's about showing that you care about safety, you care about the lives of those around you. You get to stay in compliance with laws and regulations and standards. That way, there is less chances of there being an accident. You get your increased operational efficiency along with improved employee satisfaction, cost savings, and then there's one more I would add, and you get to save lives. And that's the most important thing, and that's why we're here at the Utah Safety Council. And in order to help you all in our efforts to save lives, we at the Safety Council offer our Workplace Safety Scholarship Program, where if you are a small Utah business of less than 250 employees based here in Utah, you can actually reach out to the occupational program here at the Utah Safety Council, where we will get you 50% off of qualified classes. So please take that into consideration when you're going through your safety programs. We are here to help everyone, and we want these programs and these courses to not break your bank or your budgets. So we're here to help. This is money that we get as funding from the state in the form of grants. So please come in and use this. The state wants you to be safe. We want you to be safe. But that can only happen if you give us a call. So, and then one last thing to mention as well before I turn the time over to Nicole. As we are doing some switching of some of our program managers, the individual who will be taking over the occupational program that I have been in charge of, her name is Karen Kiriona. She is actually one of our instructors, and she will be coming on and being our program manager for the occupational department while I transfer over to the MSHA and refinery department. She's fantastic. She's not here today. She's actually out teaching an on-site right now, doing an ergonomics on-site. So if you all have ergonomics needs, let us know. We have a great presentation with that. So, okay, I will pass it to Nicole.
All right, and we're just gonna, I'm Nicole, I work in operations and membership here. We're gonna kind of go over just a little bit about what your membership entails. I swear we all went and we fixed this PowerPoint yesterday. I don't know why it's acting up like this. I do apologize to figure that out. So here are just some things that your membership does include. Utah Safety Council is a member-based company with 3 different tiers. Last month, I showed you Ames Construction and what they have done with their membership. This month, I kind of wanted to spotlight one of those things. I'm looking over at this over 50 DVDs checked out. What that is as a member of the Utah Safety Council, we have about 1,000 DVDs that you can come that relate or safety-related topics that you can come and check out at no charge. Another thing that we do is we offer this to non-members as well. However, for a non-member company, you're going to be paying $25 for that rental for each DVD. So this year alone, Ames Construction has utilized 50 of those physical DVDs for a savings of $2,600, which I'm sorry, $1,250. They did not have to pay anything to use that. In addition, we do offer streaming safety videos as well. There are thousands and thousands of videos that you can pick from that. And again, it relates from topics from like HR, safety, driving conditions, so a lot of different safety topics there. If you're not sure if your company has a membership with us, you can reach out to any one of us and we'd be more than happy to check that out for you. The other thing is Joy touched on this earlier. That's got Occupational Safety Essentials on the 13th, and she is not lying when she says she is an incredible instructor. It is free to members as well as prospective members and is available in a hybrid format. And what we're all here for today is Jeff Owens is going to be presenting on holiday food safety. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jeff. Jeff Oates, not Owens, I apologize.
That's right.
Jeff Oates has worked for the Salt Lake County Health Department for 22 years. He currently manages the Food Preparation Bureau and has been there since 2013. Jeff graduated from Carbon High School in Price, Utah, where he was a trumpet player band. He received his bachelor's of public health from Utah State University in Logan. Jeff lives in Bluffdale with his wife and 3 children. He enjoys cooking, especially outdoor cooking, smoking meat, that is, and he is addicted to, much of his verbal communication includes movie lines. So I'm hoping he'll drop at least 1 or 2 of those today, and we can all guess what he's talking about. He likes pizza, long walks on the beach, and vampire novels. Can you please welcome Jeffrey Oakes?
Hey. I feel silly because I should have worn flannel, clearly. Alright, so next time if I come here, I will know.
We can fix it for your.
It's okay, he's already got one in his bag.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right, I work for the Salt Lake County Health Department. We have many roles in Salt Lake County. I work in the Environmental Health Division, which is, some people think, oh, they're environmentalists, and that's not exactly what we do. Environmental health is the things around you that affect your health. So it could be the air, the water, the food you eat, the places you dine. So we do a lot of things like that. Our mission is to promote and protect community environmental health. Today I'm promoting community health, obviously, right? So we're going to talk about some food safety things today. Just so you know, in Salt Lake County, we have over 5,000, over 5,300 like annual permitted kitchens that we inspect. So those include, you can see some of those fast food, full service, food trucks, cafeterias, hospitals, daycares, all kinds of things like that that we look at from the food safety perspective. My history, been a health inspector for quite a long time. I used to be a restaurant manager when I was in college. I worked for Wendy's for quite a long time. And then in high school, I worked for Little Caesar. So I've kind of done both sides of the food safety thing, currently on the dark side. So let's talk a little bit then about holidays. So there's a lot of health things that happen in the winter. Holidays happen and health problems sometimes happen too because of the weather and the way we live. Especially in Utah where it's really cold. So let the overeating begin. I don't think that's a seasonal thing. I think that should be all year. That's how I feel about it. What can go wrong? Well, it's the most wonderful time of the year to spread germs. That's what the holiday season is. And we're going to talk about a little bit, just for a second, about more than just food, right? So in the winter, in the holiday season, we typically have respiratory illnesses going around. So we have influenza, which is respiratory, RSV, COVID. Those are things that are spread person to person, usually because we're breathing each other's air. And if somebody's sick, then there's a good chance that we'll get sick if we're close enough to them for a long enough amount of time. And then we also have foodborne illness issues that also happen during the holidays. And some of these are preventable, some of them may or may not be preventable, depends on what your situation is. Certainly, we encourage you to get a vaccine or a shot for the flu or RSV if you may qualify for some sort of that, or COVID, right? There's ways to do that. And today, we're going to talk more about how we can prevent getting food poisoning or foodborne illness from our holiday gatherings. So why are these so common in the winter? Like, what causes that? Well, we get together. It's cold outside. Today it's cold outside, and I would rather be in here than out there. And we get together, large groups of people, we share food, we share space, we share air, and we have lots of food stuff. Some of it may be catered in food, some of it may be potluck type food, homemade stuff. People bring all their stuff from wherever they got it, bring it in, and there we go. So holiday gatherings, I'm not saying they're bad, they're actually really fun, but there's just an elevated potential for something to happen when you're in the holidays. So we're going to talk about a few food safety topics today. it's gonna be specifically geared towards a kind of your typical holiday meal, right? Turkey and all the stuff that goes with turkey. So we'll talk about preparation and how to prevent cross-contamination when we're doing our preparation. We're gonna talk about cooking our turkey or whatever other type of thing we cook. Cleaning and sanitizing your kitchen, and then what we do with leftovers. That's a really common question, right? So the preparation, this is specifically before you cook the turkey, there is preparation that happens, right? Because we're talking about turkey, or some people may do something that's, maybe they traditionally do duck or goose or turducken or whatever it may be. We have a raw poultry carcass usually in our kitchen at some point in the holidays. And those are usually contaminated. And that's not because the turkey was bad. It doesn't mean the farm was bad or the farmer or the grocery store or wherever that turkey's been. They just kind of are contaminated because they are. And so it's not a bad thing. It's just, we got to be careful with it, right? Bacteria are microscopic, as you know, probably. We can't see them, you can't smell them, you can't taste them, and you will not know if there are bacteria or other things lingering or lurking on your food or counters or whatever. So we have to take steps to just say, okay, well, we're going to make sure that we get rid of them, kill them, get them out of our kitchen, whatever it is. Some common ones in turkey, specifically Salmonella, Campylobacter, and Clostridium perfringens. And I don't expect you to remember all those geeky science words, but those are ones you've probably heard of. Salmonella. Those are the ones that we're really taking measures to prevent things, and they kind of work in different ways, and we'll get into that a little bit. One of the most important things you can do anytime is wash your hands, and I will never stop talking about that. It's always important. When you're doing food preparation, it's especially important. And when you're doing food preparation that involves raw poultry, it's very, very important, obviously. Always wash your hands before you start doing food preparation. Wash your hands, especially after you handle raw meat of any sort, whether it's meat or poultry or what have you. Wash your hands after you touch anything dirty. So if you have, your traditional potatoes or something like that, or yams or sweet potatoes or whatever, they come out of the ground, they have dirt on them. Dirt has germs. Can get in the food and cause issues, right? So frequent hand washing is something that we're always going to preach. Now, let's talk a little bit about thawing your turkey. Depending on the size of your turkey, it could take 3, 4, or 5 days to really fully get that thing to thaw. If you forgot about it on the day before Thanksgiving, you're gonna have a hard time having your turkey thawed, short of putting it on the counter and letting it sit at room temperature, which presents some concerns and some dangers, right? So the best thing to do is plan ahead, right? Thawing the turkey in the fridge is the best way to do it. There are some ways, you can run it under cold water. You see people with it in the sink, kind of floating in the sink. If you're going to do that method because you're behind, it has to be cold water. It's not good to run like 80 or 90 degree water over that turkey, because you'll elevate the temperature, and then those bacteria we showed, they will proliferate. They will grow rapidly, and there will be lots of them, and that increases the chances that you're going to have some contamination in your kitchen or in your food, right? So for me, I look at the calendar, and I'm usually taking my turkey out on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, especially if it's a larger one. You could probably get away with it if you have a smaller, if you're like a 10 to 12 pound turkey, you're probably okay maybe on the Monday before Thanksgiving. But I look at my calendar and I'm like, okay, set an alarm in my phone, take the turkey out on Sunday. Thursday is not a thawing day, right? Unless you microwave your turkey. I don't recommend that. You're cooking the turkey like at 6 in the morning or whatever it is, right? You're cooking it early. So that's not a thawing day. So you have to thaw on the days before. Keep that in mind. You don't want that turkey sitting at room temperature for extended periods of time. When you're thawing your turkey, it matters where the turkey is in your refrigerator. The bottom shelf is best. In my house, if I can fit it, I will put it actually in a drawer. Let's see. That maybe is, like that right there. There we go. Okay. So there's actually a drawer in this refrigerator underneath that shelf. And it has pictures of produce on it, right? So it's like, oh, this is the vegetable drawer. In my refrigerator, that's the raw meat drawer. And so if I can fit it in there, that's where it's gonna be. Putting it on the top shelf, not a good idea. I do like that they have it in a roaster pan. So if anything drips, it's gonna catch it. And if you don't have any options, at least try to put it in something that will contain the juices, because if they drip in your refrigerator, now there's turkey juice and probably salmonella in lots of places. And then just avoid contact with the turkey and then other foods. And again, be mindful of your hands. The outside of that turkey packaging, it's been in a raw turkey plant, right? Who knows what's on there? Who knows where it's been between the turkey farm, the packager, and the grocery store, and then your house. That's not necessarily clean either. So, I would definitely say, yeah, wash your hands after you touch that, even that turkey thing. That turkey bag, the turkey netting, all the stuff that's in there. We want to eliminate germs, salmonella, campylobacter, whatever it is. We want to make sure those are out of our kitchen, out of our fridge, out of everything. So we need to clean and sanitize, right? And I'm not going to promote this product or that product. Typically, the best way to get rid of things is at least wash it in hot soapy water. If that's all you have, at least do that. You'll eliminate pretty much everything. Obviously, that's how we wash our dishes. If you have a dish machine, dish machines are great. They use heat to sanitize and they'll kill germs really well. But your countertops, your tables, your sinks, things like that, anything that turkey has touched in the preparation steps, you will want to clean and sanitize those. Depending on how you prepare your turkey, it's going to be out on your counter multiple times probably. So at my house, there's the thawing step. Then for me, there's always the brining step the day before. And then there's the preparation on Thanksgiving Day for actually baking or cooking or whatever, in my case, smoking the turkey. So you're always going to have some handling. Be mindful every time you do that, you're pulling that out. You're doing your brine step, so you have all the things, maybe the spices, the seasonings that you're handling and touching. Just remember that if you've touched the turkey, you'll need to wash your hands. You'll need to sanitize the areas that turkey has touched. And definitely sanitize as you go. Don't just say, oh, well, I'll sanitize after Thanksgiving Day's over. Well, that's probably a little bit too late for some of that. This slide again, wash your hands. This is kind of important. So I just duplicated the slide and put it down below those other things. Again, once you're done brining, whatever, prepping, wash your hands as you go. Okay, a big topic here. Do you rinse the turkey or not rinse the turkey? Well, I'm going to give you some practical advice, okay? The general recommendation, if you look online, almost everyone's going to say, do not rinse off your turkey, right? And the reason is because you can splatter stuff everywhere in your kitchen. If you look at that type of a sprayer that they have, those sink sprayers, some of those have quite a bit of jet force, right? You can blast stuff like 6, 8, 10 feet away from your sink. They'll be all over your house, potentially for that, right? So there may be times when you need to rinse the turkey, or you just feel like, hey, I really want to rinse this off. Just be mindful of how you do that. If you turn your water on lower, maybe don't use the sprayer. That's probably the best thing. Let it flow around the turkey and go into the sink, right? I mean, there are times when you have to. If you brine your turkey, usually the recipe or whatever, the conventional way is rinse the turkey after you take it out of the brine, because it'll be very salty if you don't. And then you'll have all your herbs and spices and things that you're trying to maybe not have on the outside of the turkey. So there's that. If your turkey fell on the floor, you will probably want to wash it. Sometimes that happens. So yes, wash your turkey. Usually it's going to be raw. In this case, this is the cooked turkey that the Bumpus dogs knocked on the floor. So there's your movie reference, if you're wondering. There's no 5-second rule, nothing like that. So yeah, if something falls on the floor, probably wash it off, right? Be practical about it though. Be mindful. If you are going to rinse the turkey, there's a chance that you're spreading things. Again, if you watch the turkey, make sure that you sanitize your surfaces that have been in contact with that or affected by it. Here's a couple of things to think about. It's not just where the turkey's touching inside the sink. You'll need to sanitize the whole sink. And don't forget about the faucet, where you may touch the faucet, the handles, where you're touching on and off and adjusting water temperature, whatever you're doing. All of that really should be cleaned and sanitized off because there's potential for salmonella or whatever bacteria to be there. Also remember, if you have counters on the sides of your sink, there's a good chance things splattered, so you're gonna wanna sanitize all the way out to the ends there. If you have children at home, toddlers or babies that crawl, you may even consider sanitizing your floor because there could be turkey goop on the floor, they go crawling through it, touch their mouth, whatever. Lots of ways for people to have issues with it, so. Okay, let's talk about the cooking of the turkey. I'm excited when I get to put the turkey in the oven because I know I have time to kind of hang out for a while and I go, oh, it's time to rest. The turkey's in the oven. So when the turkey's in there, we want to make sure a few things. You need to have your oven hot enough, and obviously there's a lot of recommended cooking temperatures. Look at the packaging of your turkey or whatever recipe you use. Generally, your oven's going to be at least 325 degrees. And you need to cook that turkey to 165 degrees Fahrenheit in all parts, right? So the USDA gave us this nice graphic. And they say to check in 3 places: in the thickest part of the breast, they say in the innermost part of the wing, and then also the innermost part of the thigh. So the wing may or may not be, hard to get the temperature there, but if you stuff the turkey, you're definitely making it harder to heat the whole turkey up because you're gonna have some cold stuffing in the cavity where normally if you didn't, you'd have hot air going through the cavity and kind of heating from the outside and within. You stuff it, the heat's all on the outside trying to penetrate all the way down to the bone, right? And so be mindful of that. I don't know how well those thermometers show up. Those black things really are thermometers. I recommend you have a digital thermometer. You can get them at just about any grocery store. Those kind with the little dials that go, they are not as reliable. They are lesser pieces of equipment. They're cheap sometimes, but you know what? Get a digital thermometer. They're more accurate and usually more calibrated. Let's see, I think I covered everything on there, but yeah, the stuffing. The stuffing, once it touches the turkey, it's now turkey too, right? It's not just bread or whatever and celery and onions and all the stuff you put in there. So now the turkey stuffing has to be 165 as well. So again, we're talking here, oh, check the thigh, check the wing, check the breast. But if you put a whole bunch of stuffing in the cavity, you're going to need to put a probe into the stuffing and make sure that you have 165 degrees.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
My sister and I argue that you can count on that little tiny white thermometer in the turkey. I tell her no, she insists it's okay.
It's a guide, it's kind of like the pirate code. Yeah, it's guide like really. It's a guide. It's probably pretty close, but just to make sure, I always check with a thermometer. I just do, just to make sure, because there could be some faulty thing or whatever, who knows, and I don't want that. I don't want my whole family Thanksgiving dinner writing on, did that little plastic thing pop up at the right time? But it's a good guideline. Okay, did I mention that you should cook everything to 165 degrees? In case you forgot that, there it is, 165 is where we're at on our turkey temperature. And this is the same for duck or goose or chicken or turducken or whatever it may be. 165 is your killing temperature for most things, right? Don't get caught eating raw turkey. Make sure you have a good thermometer that lets you know. All right. The reason we talk about temperatures at this point, the cooking temperature, is because those cooking temperatures I mentioned, 165, that's the temperature that kills salmonella. That's the temperature that kills Campylobacter. That's why in the food regulation world, these things drive those cooking temperatures that restaurants have to meet. it's really usually to kill salmonella because it's one of the hardest ones to zap. So 165 is kind of your zap temperature. If you're really worried, hey, I don't care if you cook it to 170 or 175. If you go to 180, you're probably starting to dry out your turkey, and that's why I like a thermometer as well, right? So we can do that. But that's our killing temperature for Campylobacter. Now, we haven't talked about that other bacteria that was on there, and we'll get to that in a second because there's a special case. That's more of a leftover thing, and we'll talk about it. So let's talk about the cleanup. While the turkey's cooking, well, there's a few things I'm doing. So when you're preparing the turkey, as you know, if you've prepared one before, you have to take the neck out, you have to get the giblets or whatever, which is really, well, we won't say what those really are, but we'll just call them the giblets or the giblets or whatever you want to call them. If my dad's at my house, I have to cook the giblets because he loves them. So I take my brine, you know, I do about 1 part water, 1 part brine, boil the giblets, and then you have a nice 10 o'clock snack. My favorite part of the turkey, honestly, truly, it's the neck. I love the turkey neck. So I cook that in turkey brine, boil it on the stove for a few hours in turkey brine. It's wonderful. And it's a little snack, and some people are still in bed, right? They don't even know that they're missing out on the best part of Thanksgiving. So anyway, so while the turkey cooks, now this will probably look familiar. This is a good time to really thoroughly sanitize your kitchen, especially if you've had the turkey out and if you're like me, like you're wrestling that thing and I gotta get these wings in there and get it in the pan or the bag or whatever it is that you cook it in. And it could be all over the place, right? And I've touched the sink. I've touched the fridge, I've touched all this stuff, so I need to go clean all that stuff up. Part of it is because my wife's gonna come in and make a little brunch, right? She always comes in and makes cinnamon rolls or something while we're waiting for Thanksgiving dinner to start. So I have to hurry clean up so she can come in and do the brunch thing or the breakfast thing. Make sure you're, you know, thoroughly cleaning and sanitizing. Something you definitely want to think about is where that turkey was stored in your fridge. I would clean the shelf, you know, wipe it out, use some kind of disinfectant or whatever, and the fridge handle. There have been some studies done, and fridge handles are some of the dirtiest places in kitchens, more than sinks, things like that, like because people are just grabbing that handle. So whether it was you with your turkey hands, or whether it was all the other people that use your fridge that may not wash their hands, just, yeah, sanitize your fridge handle. Okay, let's talk about the leftovers. Leftovers can be yummy, but they can also cause problems if you don't do them right. So we're going to talk specifically about the 2-2-4 rule. Okay, has anyone heard of the 2-2-4? All right, let's talk about it. So the 2s are 2 hours, 2 inches, and the 4 is 4 days. All right, so 2 hours is the time that your food is probably safe sitting out, serving on the counter, you know, the things that you're doing after you take it out of the oven, out of the cooker. And now when I talk about this, I'm not just talking about the turkey itself. Now we're talking about anything that's perishable. I know we've focused a lot just on turkey because there's a lot of prep with that and it's raw. And there are a lot of concerns with raw turkey. There are less concerns with raw potatoes or raw Brussels sprouts or raw whatever you were doing, right? With our turkey though, yeah, we're definitely focused on bacteria. Now when we get to leftovers though, lots of things can cause problems. So refrigerate those leftovers within 2 hours. That's the best practice. If those things sit for more than 2 hours, now they're going to probably be at room temperature. Room temperature happens to be the happy zone for bacteria. They love temperatures in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Those are ideal growing temperatures, kind of like us, right? I prefer the temperature to be in the 70s, maybe 80s if I'm outdoors, you know, doing water recreation or whatever. Bacteria are the same. Limit that time. Now, 2 inches is for how deep you want food. So if you have a big pot of mashed potatoes and maybe people weren't in the mood for potatoes, and you put that big pot of potatoes, you know, 4 or 5 inches deep, 4 or 5 inches wide, just this cube of hot potatoes, they're going to stay hot in your fridge probably for a day. Like, and do bacteria grow in mashed potatoes? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Potatoes come from the ground. The ground has dirt. Dirt has bacteria. yes, there's definitely potential for that. So anything that's perishable, and again, I'll have a slide for that in a second. We want to make sure they're in containers that'll cool down quickly. Is it okay to put warm food in your fridge? This is a fun one. Yes, usually, as long as it's not too much warm food, right? If you fill your entire fridge with warm food, then the whole fridge is gonna be warm for a long time. But yeah. If it's cold outside, now this isn't a restaurant thing, the restaurants should not do this. If it's really super cold outside, I may wrap something tightly and put it out on my deck, on a chair or something on my deck, or maybe I'll even open my barbecuer and set something in there if it's below 40 degrees outside. Because then it'll kind of get the cold, into that food, and then I don't have to use my fridge. Again, we're talking practical things, not official food safety things, right? Because if it's 60 degrees outside, don't do that. My sister talks about, I've been places for Thanksgiving where they set the turkey outside and we go out and the cat's eating it, and it's like, oh yeah, whoa, things like that. So be careful of just putting stuff out there. Never know what'll happen. But so we have our 2 hours, keep the food out for 2 hours, put it in the fridge. We have our 2 inches, shouldn't be more than 2 inches deep. And then 4 days is about the maximum time you want to keep leftovers after Thanksgiving. So you have your Black Friday, you have your weekend, and then, Monday, Tuesday, you're kind of starting to say, okay, maybe it's time to do something with that, or freeze them, right? If you freeze things, Thanksgiving night, maybe on Black Friday, you're like, oh, we're never going to use all this turkey, we want to save it. Okay, maybe you can freeze some of it or do something with it like that, and then it'll preserve it for a few more months. Any questions about that? This is one that's really important in the restaurant world. Cooling food properly is one of the biggest mistakes that are made. It can lead to, not doing it right can lead to quite a bit of contamination. And I guess we'll get into that actually. Oh, let me talk quickly about that and then I'll talk about it. So when you're reheating your leftovers, if you reheat them, right? So you might have a cold turkey sandwich, that's fine, whatever, those are fine. But if you're gonna like reheat the gravy and reheat the potatoes and stuff like that, it's good to warm it up to 165 degrees, just in case something got in there, that'll zap any bacteria, right? Perishables. So these are the things generally in a Thanksgiving meal or a holiday meal. And if you happen to do ham or something, throw that in there too, whatever meat product it is. Meat products, any cooked potato, any cooked vegetable, gravies, those are all things that bacteria will grow in. Stuffing for sure. Now, if you just have very basic bread stuffing, okay, maybe not. But there is turkey juice in it, most likely. So then again, okay. But stuffing often has onions and celery and different things like that. And those items actually grow bacteria if they are cooked and then left, right? So when you cook vegetables, it actually makes them so bacteria like to eat them, much like us, right? I'd rather eat them cooked in most cases. And then cream, depending on what kind of cream you have. If it's like just actual whipped cream, it's a milk product, right? Dairy product, it will grow bacteria. So be mindful of your cream pies. They probably should be in the fridge as well. So these are the things we worry about: cooling, keeping cold, reheating to the right temperature if you're going to reheat it. Okay, now we'll talk about this. So if you don't cool down your food properly, this bacteria that we talked about at the beginning, Clostridium perfringens, it's like a little bacteria seed. So a lot of times there's these little, we call them spores, there's little things that are in the food and they're just lying there dormant. They're often in meats, right? So there's another one called Bacillus cereus that is often in potatoes and rice and things like that. They both behave very similarly in that you cook them and you wake them up. So they're in the food. They don't die when you cook the food. They're just in there like, oh, something's happening. It's kind of warm in here. Let me get ready. And then when you cool your food back down to room temperature, that's when they're like, all right, now we're talking. And then they multiply and replenish. And they start making lots of themselves. And as they do that, they make lots of little poisons. So if you've ever heard of bacterial toxins, if you've heard of botulism, right? The botulism toxin, that actually it's a cousin of this guy right here. Those toxins are made when there's a heating event And then a cooling and a room temperature type of an event for extended periods, like more than 2-3 hours, and you start getting that toxin starts to happen, right? So this is kind of deep science. I'm sorry to bring in the deep science. Those things wake up, they grow, they make toxins, and then even if you reheat that food to 165, guess what? You're still probably gonna get a stomach ache, right? You're gonna get some kind of food poisoning thing going on. So if you get this one or the bacillus one, often there's two types, right? There's one where you throw up a little bit for a few hours and then you feel better because you got all the toxin out. Or there's ones where it gets through your system and then you have diarrhea for, for an overnighter or something like that, which is also unpleasant. So this is why we talk about proper leftover stuff. That's why I spent so much time, is because cooling it down, taking care of the leftovers really does matter, because a lot of people get sick when people get these quick food poisoning things. Oftentimes it's, oh yeah, it's from one of these guys that was in the food. So consequences of not cooling your food, not treating the leftovers right, food poisoning or foodborne illness, right? Okay, final thought here before we end. This concept is important in the restaurant world, one of the biggest deals that we do. If the cook has food poisoning, the people that eat the food are really likely to get food poisoning as well. That's how many of the outbreaks in Salt Lake County that we've seen, they're either from a contaminated product, like you hear about the recalls of lettuce and onions, all these different things that happen, right? You have a contaminated product that causes outbreaks, or you have a sick worker in a restaurant that spreads their germs to everybody else because they're actively throwing up or they're actively having diarrhea as they're in their job preparing food. It happens at home. We hear about it all the time at the health department. People call us and say, oh, we got so sick at my sister-in-law's house. Like, well, was anybody, we can't really help you at the health department. We're not going to regulate your house, but we can kind of troubleshoot it. And one of them, we did troubleshoot. Sure enough, one of the people had norovirus. They were like, oh, I have to make the meal. I have to make the meal for the family. And they were sick. They were throwing up and then going back to the kitchen and making the food, and everybody got sick. So pretty awful. So my point there, if you're really that sick, that's kind of a big hiccup for your Thanksgiving meal, but you might need to call in someone else or talk to someone and say, hey, I need some help here because I got this problem. And trust me, it really does happen. So be careful of that. Now, when we talk about foodborne illness symptoms, these are them, mostly vomiting, diarrhea. If you have that, it's usually because you have some kind of bug in you, a virus or bacteria in you that's causing that. I mean, unless you can point back to, well, you had a big party last night and now you're having that. But nausea and stomach cramps are also very common indicators. A lot of times you get those, then you get these, right? Be careful of that. Be mindful of that. It does happen. It's a big deal in restaurants. So there you go. I think that's it, except for just a summary. I hope I'm not causing panic. I hope people are still like, yeah, I'm going to make my turkey. I'm going to have my Thanksgiving. I want you to do that. But just a few things to keep you safe, right? So like we said before, wash your hands often. Be mindful of cross-contamination because the turkey is contaminated. So make sure you take care of that by cleaning, sanitizing all the surfaces that may have been in contact with that turkey, or the juices or the splatters or whatever it might be. Cook all your poultry to 165 degrees Fahrenheit, as well as your leftovers if you're going to heat them up. Make sure you refrigerate your leftovers within 2 hours, right? Your 2-2-4 rule. And then again, if you're sick, careful of that. You could potentially make other people sick, and we don't want that to happen. So there's our summary. And with that, I am happy to take any questions. Yeah.
Do you know, you probably know, but there was recently an E. coli outbreak at some McDonald's around here. What was the cause of that?
They determined that to be the onions that they were putting on. So they have a specific kind of onion that they only use for one specific hamburger. And that onion was linked right back to a farm or a processing facility for that farm in Colorado. And they linked those. So it wasn't actually the hamburger. Something happened either on the farm or in the processing facility, somewhere in between there. And then in this case, the restaurant was actually kind of the victim of a bad product that normally you don't have too many problems with, but boom, there it was. And so they did test the hamburger and the onions to see which one it was, and it turns out it was the onions.
Cool.
But still eat onions because they're yummy.
How many cases during the holidays do you guys get? Like, how much does it increase?
I don't know that most people don't I'll start with this. Most people do not report foodborne illness. Whether it's because they don't want to deal with it, the embarrassment or whatever, most people don't report it. When we do get reports, it's usually because they are wanting, some kind of retribution, or it's just like, hey, I'm pretty sure this restaurant caused this and maybe I can prevent others from getting it. We always appreciate a call. We have inspectors that will interview you in our office, or there's an online form. You can just look up, food poisoning Utah. There's an online thing that'll go through. And then like an epidemiologist will look through and possibly email or call you back. Anyway, there are ways to report. And then they start asking, where have you eaten? What's your food history? When did you get sick after you ate? And it's kind of a puzzle unless there are multiple people from other households also reporting on the same restaurant and at the same, generally the same time. And then we start to say, okay, we have a correlation between different unrelated people. To answer your question, I don't know that we see really a huge increase in the reports in our office though. And I think part of that is because it's like, well, it probably was not a restaurant. It was probably maybe Aunt Sue or Uncle Bob or who knows, but that's a good question, but really, no, it doesn't go up that much.
Is there any on the chat?
Nope.
All right,
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
thank you.
For coming out and telling us how to keep our kitchen safer. And we were talking about the 5-second rule before you came, so Yvette and I are kind of upset about that, but we will make sure it doesn't apply during Thanksgiving. So next month, we do have our holiday safety coming up. That is going to take place on December the 3rd. And registration is open for that. You can just register on our website. We do offer that in person or as a web-based option. Working it?
Try clicking.
There we go.
There we go.
And like I said, our website is utahsafetycouncil.org. And I just want to, again, thank Jeff for coming out. And if you have any questions, reach out to us and we could direct you towards Jeff if you want to go into more in depth and you have some specific questions you didn't get a chance to ask today. So we're just going to go ahead and sign off and everybody stay safe and we'll see you next month. Yeah, we were saying that if the turkey falls on the ground